Hello everyone, my name is Trish Lynch from the International Observatory of Human Rights here in London. Thank you for being with us on our very first episode of our Human Rights TV. Now, press freedom organisations have described Turkey as the world's biggest jailer of journalists, with close to 150 media professionals currently in prison. With us today we have Muratcan Sabuncu, a lawyer and the president of the Sorbonne Human Rights Association in Paris. His father, Muratcan Sabuncu, editor-in-chief of Cumhuriyet newspaper, is accused of terror-related charges and has been in prison for more than 400 days in Turkey. You're very welcome to the show. Thank you for coming all the way from Paris to be with us today. Now, your father is the editor-in-chief of the Cumhuriyet newspaper. This is a newspaper that is secular, and yet he's been accused of being a member of the Gulen movement, described by the Turkish government as a terrorist organisation. Tell me why you think your father is really in prison.
The imprisonment of journalists is a political punishment for independent and critical journalism in Turkey. It aims to silence different point of views in Turkey and to intimidate journalists, which unfortunately leads to self-censorship.
Do you feel that Erdogan is using the threat on terrorism as a way to, as you say, silence the critics, but also to target human rights defenders and journalists?
Yes, for sure.
Tell me about your father. How is he doing? When did you have contact with him last?
He is doing very well. I think the righteousness of his fight for a more democratic and pluralistic Turkey gives him strength even in the difficult conditions of Silivri prison in Istanbul.
Tell us about those conditions, because we have research that tells us that some of the conditions are quite horrific. Does he have access to books? Does he have freedom to leave his cell? Tell me what his average day would be like.
There too, in their cell, he's with Akın Atalay from the Cumhuriyet newspaper. He has visits from his family members once a week. His lawyers can visit him every time they want. He can read books, and although it was forbidden to receive or to send letters, now he can hopefully send and receive letters.
And is your father aware of the tireless campaigning that you're doing on his behalf?
Yes, yes. He's very proud of me and other Turkish young people who are defending their own right of information. I'm writing articles for different newspapers and invited, like today, to different shows to speak about the situation of journalists. And he's very happy for the support of the international community, which makes visible the fight of journalists in Turkey.
Absolutely. Committee to Protect Journalists have estimated there's a minimum of 150 journalists incarcerated in Turkish prisons. You're a lawyer. Do they have any chance of getting a fair trial?
Unfortunately, the independence of the judiciary in Turkey is very questionable. After the referendum in April 2017, we had a lot of changes in our constitution, which makes legally difficult to maintain the independence of the judiciary. I hope everyone, including my father, have a fair trial, but I cannot reassure you that that they can have a fair trial, unfortunately.
Are you in contact with other family members who have journalists and human rights defenders unjustly incarcerated?
Yes, yes. I think contacting these people give us strength. The solidarity between the family members of different detained journalists is a source of hope for all of us. We are like a family now.
Now, let's talk about your father, because the editor-in-chief of Cumhuriyet newspaper was Can Dündar. Now, he was shot, he was imprisoned, and he was almost killed before he managed to flee to Germany in 2016. And then your father replaced him as editor-in-chief. Was there ever a moment when your father thought, this could be dangerous?
My father always knew that dissident journalists risks unemployment, imprisonment, even death. When I visit him in Silivri prison, he always says ironically that we can see both the cemetery and the courthouse from the office of the editor-in-chief. So it wasn't a surprise for him all the things that unfortunately he's facing now. But he's a brave man who want to see a better democratic Turkey, and who fights, who still fights for it.
Our IOHR research indicates that there are close to 12 German prisoners of Turkish descent currently held in different prisons. Now, the Foreign Minister of Germany, Sigmar Gabriel, has called them hostages of Erdogan. Do you agree with this label, hostage?
I agree.
Yeah. Tell me what you expect from European leaders, and do you feel that you've had the support that you really needed?
I think we had the support of European Democrats. A lot of observers come for showing their solidarity to the trials. And it shows us the unity of human adventure, and it makes really us happy and stronger to see that people around the world care about the Turkish journalists in prison, care about the situation in Turkey. What I expect from, I don't expect anything from European leaders, but I expect from European people to continue to show their solidarity with us and to know that these things can happen even in Europe, in the West, maybe in different forms, not like the incarceration of journalists, but in different fields, in different types. And they should keep in mind that human rights and democracy are fragile everywhere, and we should fight for our rights in solidarity with different people across the globe, knowing that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
You said that you don't expect anything from European leaders. Why is this? Is it because you've been disappointed with the reaction?
No, because I think the transformation in Turkey came from inside of Turkey, and a lot of people in Turkey are showing their support for journalists in prison, and I think it's more important to have the support of people with whom we share the same values, the same democratic and values, the same values concerning human rights, pluralism. So European Democrats, it's more valuable for me to see their support rather than the leaders with whom I sometimes don't agree.
Let's go back to your father and his day-to-day activities. What's his experience like? He's sharing a cell, you said, with another journalist, so that's probably quite good from a conversation point of view. But outside of that particular cell, what happens?
He cannot communicate with other prisoners in prison, so it is unfortunately an isolation for them. But he reads books, he writes a lot. He's following the news in Turkey and in the world. During our weekly visits, we talk about books, about love, about friends, about his dreams about Turkey, and He always says that he looks to the sky from his cell, and he's dreaming about fighting again for the press freedom, not only in Turkey but in the world, showing solidarity with journalists who are in prison, although he may never know them.
Excellent. And when you visit your father, can you bring him food? Can you bring him things to give him comfort?
No, we can give him some laundry, and that's all.
You're the president of a human rights association in Paris. What do you think describes general rights in Turkey at the moment?
General rights in Turkey, I don't think we can say that we still have rights, because nothing is predictable in Turkey.
Yeah.
All can change one day to another with the decision of a one man.
It's a very volatile situation for everybody, isn't it?
Yes.
One day you think you're making some headway, and then the next day it's all gone again.
Yes.
As we see the fate of other prisoners, the fact that they were released on bail, does this give you hope that a similar situation would be with your father?
Yes, I have hope for my father's trial, but as I said before, nothing is predictable, and sometimes we are more optimistic, but after then, with only one speech of the president, all our hopes and dreams can be changed.
Now, the world might believe that the whole of Turkey supports Erdogan, but that's not necessarily the case, is it?
It's not the case. As the example of my father and his colleagues shows, there is another Turkey which resists to the authoritarianism. There are a lot of Turks who are still believing to the democracy in Turkey, to the pluralism, and who are bravely fighting for it, although there are a lot of risks for them. So we should not reduce Turkey to AKP or to Erdogan. Unfortunately, in the Western media, we always see Erdogan, AKP, Erdogan's reactions to such or such thing, but there are a lot of Turks who share the same values and dreams to make Turkey better.
Muratcan Sabuncu, thank you very much. We wish your father well, and we will be following his trial closely. Thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you for watching IOHR TV. You can also keep up to date on our website and social media. Join us again for our next episode. IOHR, putting human rights into focus. Until then, goodbye.